We've lost 40% of our business.
What began as a health crisis has become an economic catastrophe.
There's only so much we can do. Until people fly more, we're a little bit stuck.
Coronavirus has grounded entire industries, leaving world-leading manufacturers counting the cost and cutting jobs.
I feel like maybe even the wrong side of 50 and I'm on the scrap heap now.
There's 800 applicants for one job. Heaven knows when he could find a job.
But what has been the impact beyond the boardroom and the factory floor?
I tend now not to look any further than about a week ahead.
To investigate the real cost of COVID-19, we've spoken to bosses, suppliers and small businesses, workers, families and communities on the brink. This is the story of the economic virus.
It's extremely hard to make ends meet, but if you don't come out, you don't get anything.
Coronavirus has scorched economic certainties. It's penetrated every corner of working life, exposing structural weaknesses and the vulnerability of jobs dependent on an interconnected world. Skilled, experienced and committed, David spent 9 years working for a contractor on the Airbus production line in Broughton, North Wales. But when planes were grounded, he was among more than 400 people made redundant.
It's quite frustrating. You spend your time writing to companies, sending your CVs and stuff, and you get no response back.
None at all?
None at all, no. I feel like, I don't know, maybe even the wrong side of 50 and I'm on the scrap heap now, Absolutely anything, absolutely anything. Obviously ideal would be something on a comparable salary, but at the moment, that's just not around. Can't be a postman. I can put an aircraft together. Yeah, it's a bit of a kick in the teeth, really.
The family now rely on wife Louise's part-time job and eking out David's redundancy payment while he looks for work. Their priority, to keep funding daughter Emily's passion for dance, a talent that has seen her represent Wales at a World Cup.
I'm trying to take the pressure off the bills. I really want her to carry on dancing, and I don't want that to be impacted. But then you have to look at the cost. So is there classes that she can cut to save on that? So it's a horrible, horrible situation to be in. It's worrying about how long is it going to take him to find a job. There's 800 applicants for one job. How do you compete with that? On that basis, heaven knows when he could find a job.
This is where David worked. Wellington bombers for the war effort were once built on this site. Now a new enemy threatens production of wings for Airbus's commercial fleet. This is a major part of a global business worth £65 billion last year, but the outbreak has devastated aviation, and around 1,400 people, 25% of the workforce here, could lose their jobs. The boss told me why.
We've lost, since the crisis, probably 40% of our business, which shows the scale of the impact. We don't see even flights returning to the pre-COVID levels before 2023 at the earliest, maybe even as far out as 2025. Any person who has to leave a job, it's difficult, but it just shows the reality of the situation facing us.
In contrast to France and Germany, the British aviation industry has had no direct government aid. Airbus says subsidising shorter working hours could reduce redundancies.
In our industry, it's no good extending a furlough for 3 months because our ultimate situation won't have changed in 3 months. Rather than making some of the employees redundant, we could reduce the working week for a bigger number of employees.
When wings are completed, they're flown for final assembly in Toulouse in vast cargo planes that dock in this purpose-built hangar, one piece in an international jigsaw. Airbus is an industrial giant supporting more than 100,000 direct employees in the UK and around the world, and many more at its thousands of suppliers. But the strength of that interconnectedness is a weakness when it comes to coronavirus. The collapse in air travel has caused an economic contagion that threatens jobs and livelihoods at every link in the chain. Broughton is a small town now buffeted by global headwinds, but this corner of the country is no stranger to industrial pain. Paul Davies can remember when 6,500 steel workers lost their jobs here in the 1980s. Power, steel and paper are still all produced by the River Dee as well as planes, but they've all had to change to survive.
It's one of the biggest employers now in the area. I've certainly got relatives, including a son and a grandson who's just had an apprenticeship there. I don't think anybody in the area doesn't know somebody who works there or doesn't have a relative who works there. So it's going to affect everybody.
80 miles west, Derby is also counting the cost of COVID. This is a city steeped in manufacturing, planes, trains and automobiles. The biggest of all is a British household name. Rolls-Royce engines hang beneath Airbus wings and they're tested in this vast facility. But nothing could prepare the company for the collapse of air travel and with it, its business model.
Rolls-Royce, like other engine companies, is paid per flying hour by airlines to look after the engines and service them. Because that money dries up, you have to sort of adjust everything. There's only so much we can do. Until people fly more, we're a little bit stuck.
With air travel unlikely to recover to pre-pandemic levels for 4 years, Rolls-Royce has already made 2,900 redundancies in the UK, around half of them here.
We've been losing a lot of our colleagues over the last few months. You know, redundancy is really painful. It's the last thing you do in business. It takes years to build up skills. And, you know, people are our colleagues, they're also our friends. There are 38,000 parts in one of these engines, 30% of them made by Rolls-Royce, the rest by companies across the UK and around the world. This is one of those parts. It's made by Naismith, a precision engineers 20 miles away near Mansfield that's felt the human cost of COVID directly.
Unfortunately, one of our employees died of COVID-19 in one of our other businesses, and we had a guy from this business that was on a ventilator for about 4 or 5 weeks. 200
out of 800 staff have been made redundant. Their priority now is to be ready when demand returns.
We've tried to preserve the skill level, so sadly maybe people that aren't as skilled as others are the ones we've had to make redundant. So it's quite heartbreaking at times to see that and the human cost that's associated with it.
The collapse of a global industry has local consequences. In Derby, Rolls-Royce staff are the engine of the economy, the customers of businesses like Allison's sandwich shop, starved of trade by the move to working from home.
It was devastating, really. I mean, I'm still open, I'm still here, but people are losing their jobs. Rolls-Royce always has a knock-on effect to other businesses and people that supply them and service them. People like ourselves, right down to, you know, our little shop here. There's a huge chain with all of this. During lockdown, our bakery went into administration. They've not reopened again since, so we had to find another bakery.
Business visitors to the city have dried up too, with disastrous consequences for the cab drivers who usually keep Derby moving.
Rolls-Royce is a massive issue. 80% of our jobs in the morning were all Rolls-Royce, which are no longer here. So it's obviously affecting not just the taxi trade, but also the hotels and small shops and the rest. I don't think it's going to improve much at all because most people will carry on working from home.
It's very difficult. You won't believe it. You know, you have to wait here sometime even up to 3 hours to get a job.
What a job!
I mean, you know, this morning I was here before 9, and up till now done only 2 jobs, and it's been good few months hardly even took anybody to Rolls-Royce. In the morning, it used to be like even 80% of trade was to Rolls-Royce.
At the minute, it's a full shift if you do it max to 12-hour shift, and that is a tiring. It might be 30, 40 quid.
When times get hard, this is one of the places people turn. Doorways Derby is a food bank that's one of the few businesses expecting to get busier this winter.
People that used to donate to Doorways sort of last year, the year before, their position is they're coming up and using our products table and perhaps having food parcels delivered to themselves as well. Because of the furlough, lack of money, and just trying to keep their head above water, really.
With unemployment rising, earnings squeezed and restrictions on work and socialising extended, even being in work, like waitress Natasha, may not be enough.
With like the COVID-19 and everything, everybody's been put on short hours. With having shorter hours, you never know how much you're going to come out with, and sometimes the money doesn't stretch far enough. Week before I get paid is the most difficult week because you've got to wait until payday next week, and it's just hard to stretch it all out.
What's happening to people and businesses in Broughton and Derby is being replicated in other industries and other towns and cities across the country, leaving companies fighting for survival.
I tend now not to look any further than about a week ahead.
Really?
Yeah, because I just don't know what's around the corner anymore.
And workers who lose their jobs paying the greatest price of an economy shaped by the virus.
It feels like the whole economy's been destroyed. So there's nothing there for anybody. You know, especially people who've been doing jobs like I've been doing. There's no industry, there's no manufacture. So what are we meant to do?